My name is Dan Huckle. I'm the managing partner of Tandem Talent. We are a specialised RPO provider, and we work across the board with a number of clients from architecture through to retail.
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick intro for me. So I'm Jen Davis. I'm the sales director for Tazio Online Assessments. So our role really is to provide an online assessment platform for our clients. We work with lots of clients like Dan, whether they are embedded recruitment teams or obviously direct in-house recruiters. So Dan, congratulations, first of all,
Thank you.
on the nomination for outsourced in-house recruitment team. Obviously, you've got embedded teams, so they're working sort of 24/7 at 365 with those clients. So you get that kind of real kind of engagement really in terms of the culture of an organization. I'm thinking that's kind of part of the kind of the best part of the outcome for that in terms of client success for sort of candidates, etc. So I thought today we'd perhaps have a little bit of a chat about what's been happening over the last 12 months for you. So maybe some of the experiences that you've had, some things that have come out of that you think are sort of learnings from those experiences, and what you're going to kind of take forward for the next 12 months. So if we can just start talking about, last 12 months, what's been going on?
So I think if we're looking at the recruitment award itself, and associated with our client fostering partners, I think one of the things that has really taken shape over the past 12 months is we've been on site with fostering partners for a number of years, and as we all know, we've had a number of things happening over the past few years, which have sort of I would say created an environment where things wouldn't necessarily have been as you would have liked them to have been when you're trying to be an on-site presence with a client. However, we've now sort of realised the point where we are completely embedded on site as a team, and we have, as a team, been able to create, or if you like, create a real difference on site with our stakeholders and with the hiring managers. I think the main highlights of the last 12 months is being able to deal with the spike in hiring that has been required as a result of the success of fostering partners and the projects that they've won over all around the globe, if you like, over the past few years. We have, as a team of 6 people, been able to create 680 new hires for the business. Wow. And that is across the globe, 35 to 40 varying locations throughout the year, recruiting from San Francisco through to Shanghai and everything in between. And all of that team have been based here in our offices in Bristol, dealing with global recruitment. Departments in technology such as Revit, and all of the design technologies that sit within their departments, through to the fulfillment of architects, and then of course all things like the support functions, marketing, finance, HR, you name it. So for a team of this size, I think it's been quite an achievement to have well, one, hit that number of hires, but two, been able to fulfill such a varied skill set and geographically varied area as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of location, I would have thought that's going to be quite challenging as well, because you're kind of not location specific at all, really, in terms of where you're looking for hires. It's worldwide, it's by the sound of it. So that presents its own challenges, doesn't it, in terms of that contact and sort of getting in touch with candidates, and interviews, that kind of thing gets a little bit tougher when you're working across multiple time zones. And as you say, sounds like you've got a pretty small team who've achieved pretty significant hires there. That's impressive. So have there been sort of other major challenges in sort of maybe in specific areas or with specific roles or regions where you've thought, wow, okay, how are we going to get to these numbers that we need in the organization?
I think the team size on this is actually testament of what we do. So, Tandem itself, we're around 15 head counts. There's around 6 people assigned to the Foster and Partners account. But what we tend to do is work with the client to create that right level of breathing space from when the requirement is released through to when they start interviewing. I think one of the main things that businesses do is leave the hiring process far too late, which then creates the unnecessary urgency, which then creates the need to utilize lots of different variable agencies, job boards, you name it. You end up with kind of a scattergun mix rather than a controlled mix of if you have control over the actual recruitment process itself. So the reason we've been able to do this, there've been a few late nights and a few early mornings, but that comes with the territory. But the reason we've been able to do this with a smaller group of people is that we've created that time with the client and the hiring managers. We are part of the project pipelines. We know when things are going to land with the business. The team are really embedded in the company. So when we recruit, it's not necessarily a surprise. We've created a system and a process that allows us to gear up to that moment. And because of that, we're able to put something together that works for them and works for us. So the 680 hires, you could argue, well, we're talking at least 5 times that in interviews, and probably 10 times that in candidates. But with the right level of organization, time, process on your hands with all of those things, it does become quite manageable.
So do you think that having the team embedded helped a lot with that kind of resource planning, because you kind of, it's like boots on the ground type thing where you actually got people there, so you're aware of changes that are happening in the organization from the get-go, rather than, as you say, if you're operating externally, quite often you get a call saying, hey, we need 50 new hires by next week, can you sort it out please? And it's like panic stations, and you don't necessarily get the best hires then either, because you're in such a pressurized environment. So has that kind of helped a lot that you are this team that's there on site every day?
Yes, it has. And I think we created Tandem and the RPO service based out of all the things we found were failing with the larger RPO services. So, although RPOs were in place with clients, they were very much a partner, not a partner, if you like. They were very much an external entity that was coming in to overarch all the recruitment. And therefore, the processes they were put in place and the people that were put in place were very much separate to the business. We kind of build our RPO offerings and our teams in the way that, I mentioned to you earlier, that term of going native. Within the larger RPOs, you would put people on site, and when they started embedding themselves with the client and spending more time with the client, etc., that was classed as going native. You're going to the other side, and that wasn't a good thing. We kind of build our RPOs because we want our teams to do that, because we know for a fact that if they're in the client, if they're in with the teams and the hiring managers and working closely, that's the best platform for information to be shared. That's the best way that we are going to be able to be involved enough to deliver these recruitment projects in an effective, timely fashion.
So much more about building a kind of a deeper relationship, really, and that consultative approach where you're kind of seen perhaps as well as somebody who can give kind of expert advice, be the SME, so in terms of the recruitment needs. If you're there all the time, you become the go-to for, right, this is what I think you need now in terms of your resource planning. Let's start scheduling that in now, sooner rather than later, because you're expanding. And so I mean, so it sounds like that's worked really well. I mean, what's the feedback been like from Foster and Partners? I mean, I'm assuming they're pretty happy with that number of hires.
Well, I mean, you will have seen a video that went out from the global HR director, Charlotte Sword, who's actually done a video testimonial for us regarding what we have done. And that shows and discusses the savings that we made for them overall, which is over 74% now, compared to their external spend when just using agencies and job boards. So there is a solid financial reason for doing this, as well as a sort of a practical partnering reason for doing it as well. So the feedback is very, very good. I think in relation to other things, other achievements for the last 12 months as well. We do a lot of other things with above and beyond just recruitment. So we do actually strategically work with the client when it comes to looking at new projects in new countries or new areas where they require headcount, they require benchmarking, they need to understand the sort of lay of the land for the people that they will eventually need to employ within a particular area they're going to work. So part of that being embedded is being able to conduct and produce those reports for them, allowing people within HR to be able to see ahead from a headcount perspective, but even things like looking at competitors in the area. What will be the competitive draw of headcount when they actually establish themselves in that particular area as well. So there are a lot of other things that we do and add to that overall.
Yeah, I mean, I know for us, we've been doing quite a lot of research about sort of setting up satellite offices in the States and that kind of thing. And there is a good deal of research that needs to be done before you just go, hey, let's just employ somebody. You've got to go out there and kind of go, right, how does it work out here? Because it's every sort of region is completely different in the way that job market works and the expectations in terms of salary and sort of benefits. They're different from one country to the next. So you've always got to take that on board if you're going to plan to be successful in a new geographical region, basically. So I feel their pain a little bit because we are. So one of the things we're looking at right now
from the States that practically most states have their own HR laws, personnel laws, and financial laws as well. So when you're looking at something that's as federated as the States, then you realise the difficulties of opening up offices or actually taking on new projects where people are required around the world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so logistically, it's quite a big task to take on. So obviously, great last 12 months. What's kind of in the pipeline for the next 12 months? What are you looking forward to for sort of future projects?
I think the things we're most looking forward to are the new developments. So we always sort of thrive on new areas of people development. What are the next technologies we're going to be looking at as an organization? So again, sticking with Foster and Partners as that's the award we're discussing, the actual architectural marketplace is really evolving at the moment, and we're looking at all sorts of different things within the design technologies arena that will be coming out. So everyone's talking about AI, everyone's talking about obviously machine learning, but we're also looking at other things like 3D printing of houses and buildings and building parts. I mean, that the whole area has really exploded with new tech and lots of new innovations sitting on the periphery. Now, for us, that's going to dictate the sorts of people that we're going to be bringing in. A few years ago, as I said, that was the evolution of technologies like Revit, where you're able to use building information modeling to digitally create a building. That's almost now old, and we're looking at new things and new applications of AI, new applications of machines and 3D printing and all this stuff. So I think that's the things we're most looking forward to, because with those developments come new populations, new types of people. Where are they going to come from? And new areas of research. And that's kind of what we like.
So you've got new roles coming forward, really, and new skill sets in terms of the requirements. And so, as you say, some older skill sets that might have been valued maybe aren't as much of a priority now. So you're kind of constantly looking for people to evolve. And I suppose as well, it's that process of identifying skills gaps in candidates that come forward. And is that something that can be tackled as part of learning and development or not, really, isn't it? So it's a bit, ever changing right now. I think we can all agree things are moving along at pace in terms of AI developments. It's quite a challenge, I think, for recruiters across the board, really, in terms of measuring candidates as well. There's also that whole kind of completion of assessments, that kind of thing, where we've got obviously candidates are going to use AI, like ChatGPT, for example,
Yeah.
to get a great answer. I mean, we employ a lot of software engineers, and as you can imagine, ChatGPT is great for code. So if we give them a coding quiz, you know, you might well get back somebody who has just put the coding quiz into ChatGPT and got back a great answer. So it's and you've got to then go, hang on a minute, that looks very ChatGPT in terms of the that very clean cut response that they managed to achieve in less than 8 minutes, you know, for a task that should take 40 if they were doing it themselves. Yeah. So it's a big challenge, I think, for recruiters across the board. Okay. Well, it's been really, really great to sort of talking to you today. I think the last thing for me is, what were your kind of key motivations around sort of, you know, putting yourselves forward for the award, and then kind of, you know, why this year more than any other?
I think this year more than any other, in terms of from our team performance, and from other things such as having embedded the technology. We designed some bespoke technology for our recruitment that we placed as rolled out on site this year as well. So we have everyone using that. Just lots of different key factors that have made us decide to go for this. I think
Yeah.
we've come from a recruitment background where, you know, most recruitment agencies go for the same awards in the same areas, and to be perfectly frank, they don't really resonate with us as an organization, but the in-house recruitment side of things does. And
Yeah.
you know, the fact that they have awards up for the embedded service, etc.,
Yeah.
really resonates with us as well. I mean, that's what we're
Yeah.
very much about as an organization. So for us, it's those kind of awards that would make more sense to go for. And this year, in terms of our relationship with Foster and Partners, I think everything crystallized enough that it just made sense to go for it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've obviously had fantastic results, and it's worth kind of putting that out there, isn't it, into the marketplace so people can be aware of it. Yeah, and it's always good. So hopefully you're going to get a win next
Fingers
week.
crossed, hey? Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, drinks are on you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. If our
Okay.
table's right at the back in the corner, then you know, just feel sorry for me, okay? But we'll be okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're not parked right by the stage. Like, oh.